Hello and welcome to Listening to the Wind, IWSA's regular interview series with a focus on the pioneers in the wind propulsion sector. And we've taken a short break over the summer, and who better to welcome us back than Per Tunell. Hello, Per.
Hello, Gavin.
Nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
No, fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. Per is the COO of Wallenius Marine and the future CEO of Alfawall Oceanbird. I hope I got that right.
You got it right.
Fantastic. He's been with Wallenius for the last 16 years, and he's a naval architect and holds an MBA in shipping and logistics. So I think we're in very good hands. So welcome, Per, and I'm going to hand over control for the first 10 or so minutes so you can give us a little presentation about the project and all the exciting developments there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gavin. Yeah, I might run a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but I will try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. And for those of you listening and watching this, I love to have a dialogue. This format doesn't really allow a dialogue in a direct aspect, but please just reach out, drop me an email or reach out on LinkedIn or anywhere to just give us your input. That's really needed, and it's really appreciated. So this presentation is titled "The Wind Carries a Shipping Revolution," and I truly believe, and I'm convinced that it does. It's so much energy in the wind, so it simply doesn't make sense that we shouldn't be using it. But I will start by taking you back some 25, 30 years or 25 years or so. And talk a little bit about the background of the project. Wallenius is a family-owned business. Wallenius Marine is a family-owned business with a truly committed family, and a family that cares for sustainability. We started working in a structured way with sustainability and environmental issues and trying to reduce the environmental impact from our operation already in the mid-90s. And looked at reducing sulfur emissions, reducing NOx emissions, looking at how can we deal with the ballast water challenge, anti-fouling, etc. So we did some small steps always, starting already in the mid-90s. But that led us to form a vision, a broader vision of the emission-free ship, early 2000 or so, which then was transformed later on to our current vision that lead the way towards truly sustainable shipping. And that has been the core and in the DNA of the company since then. So with that vision, we of course started working in a structured way to realize that vision and how to get there. And in 2009, we were running a project we called Zero, a zero emission RoRo, which we used the backcasting method. We picture ourselves, where do we want to be in the future? At that time, we pictured ourselves like in the 2030, 2040 or so, maybe we could have an emission-free vessel. And by using this backcasting method, we created a roadmap towards our vision. Where do we have to be 2020? Where do we have to be 2010? And so on. And it wasn't actually only one roadmap, but several roadmaps. So a roadmap for operation, energy carriers, technology, emissions, etc., but also for our own competence. So the conclusion of that work was that it is absolutely possible to reach this vision. We can be emission-free, but only if we reduce the energy consumption significantly. We need to use the free energy sources that is around the vessel. which means either the wind, the sun, or the waves. And we need to bring on board a much smaller amount, but we need to bring on board some emission neutral energy carriers like biofuels or synthetic fuels or so. So these energy sources, the free energy sources around the vessel, wind, sun, and waves, we're looking at which can we use, and came to the conclusion that sun is interesting, but not enough. Waves is a lot. There's a lot of waves around the vessel, but it's difficult to harvest if you want to make speed through water. So we then came to the conclusion wind is, and that has been proven before, a very, very interesting source of power. This roadmap can be presented like this. We of course see here that the energy savings needs to happen. We changed from the HFO to a cleaner HFO in 2020 by regulations. We foresee that we will use LNG as a bridge into something more sustainable like biofuels and synthetic fuels or so. But we also see that wind could be a very significant player or play a very significant role when it comes to becoming truly sustainable. So this roadmap has served us now when we have developed new vessels, and we have looked at when we have been taking incremental steps in our new designs with significantly energy reductions on all these new designs, introducing cleaner fuels like LNG on some of them, and also actually adding a battery hybrid on one of the designs. So we have been taking these steps, but we have not yet taken the step into wind power. But at some stage in 2016 or 2017, we started realizing that, well, we don't need to wait until 2040 or 2050 by being emission free. There were so many things coming at us, and the demand for more sustainable solutions became more apparent. And so we formulated a project with the objective of becoming 90% less emission than the best of class vessels of today. It should be commercially feasible, this vessel. And the reason for having that as one of the primary objectives is that unless it's commercially feasible, it will never happen. And we were not happy by creating a nice report or a nice picture or potentially a model that stands in our lobby. That's not enough. We want this to happen. We should get this to happen. And then it needs to be commercially feasible. And then we should put a little time pressure on ourselves and said that it should be technically ready to order in the end of 2021. So in late 2018, we formed the competence cluster together with KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, and SSPA, which is the research institute in shipping research institute in Gothenburg. So we formed a competence cluster with them, and we went to Trafikverket, which is the Swedish transport agency authority, and asked for some funding. Do you want to fund our research project, which aims at bringing wind back as one of the sources of power in commercial shipping? And they were happily doing that. So they joined with some funding, which made it possible for us to kickstart and really make progress in this research project, and which started then in 2019. So since then, we have this project has been running in parallel. We have also, of course, been running. A research project is bringing a lot of knowledge and methods and so on, but it doesn't really create a product. So in parallel, we have also, of course, been running a project with a focus on making the product and making this a reality, a realization project. So I am now about to show you a little bit of a short movie, about a minute, that shows you where we are at today. So sit back and enjoy. Good. I hope you enjoyed. I think maybe you noticed a few new names in this video, and I will come back to that. But Oceanbird, this concept, some key facts about this concept. As I mentioned already, reduced emissions by 90%. Our target is to have the first vessel in operation delivered in 2025. This concept is a car carrier, has the ability to carry about 7,000 cars. A quite big piece of vessel. It's around 200 meters long, 40 meters wide, and about 105 meters tall. So imagine going into New York, you'll actually reach slightly above the Statue of Liberty when you're sailing past the Statue of Liberty. A transatlantic crossing about 12 days with an average speed of about 10 knots. These wings are telescopic for different reasons, but it's mainly for, there are two main reasons for this. One is, of course, to be able to kind of retract them when the wind is too strong, and thereby reduce the forces on the wings and the vessel. But it's also, of course, to be able to go beneath certain bridges. The air draft of 105 meters is quite difficult on in some ports. So that's the main reasons. They are operated individually and can rotate through 360 degrees. So that's a little bit about the key facts on this on the current design. So this project has been a very multidisciplinary project. We have been in all kinds of areas, of course, aerodynamics, of course, mechanic solutions on the structure and the solution that can create a telescopic solution. Of course, routing and performance. How do you route the vessel now when we are kind of searching for the wind instead of avoiding wind that we have been doing traditionally? How does these forces carry, how are we able to carry these forces in the hull structure? But other things like automation, rules and regulations, logistics, etc. There are so many things playing here that needs to be considered in a project like this. So it's been fantastic. I'll give you two small examples also on more practical tests. We have been carrying out seakeeping tests in SSPA's MDL pool. Truly unique. It hasn't been done before, testing a sailing model in this way. It helps us understanding the behavior in strong winds and waves. But it also, of course, serves as validation for our simulation models. We have been developing new simulation models to be able to simulate different designs in different weathers and so on. And this kind of testing, of course, helps us to validate that. Truly amazing, truly groundbreaking solutions. Another thing we have been doing in more practical is to build a 7-meter model. It has been designed by this team that I mentioned, Wallenius, KTH, and SSPA. This hull has been built in SSPA, and then it was shipped up to Stockholm. And the rest has been built by a group of 10 master students. They have equipped the vessel with sensors, control systems, and so on. And now this is sailing in the Stockholm archipelago, and we're testing it in the archipelago to provide input on maneuvering, sensoring, and control. But it also helps us validate our simulation models. So this is truly fascinating and gives us a lot of input. I mentioned in the video that you might have seen a few new names in this video, and that comes because we, as Wallenius Marine, we are a design company. We don't have all the knowledge on production, and we don't have all that taking a product to the market. So we have formed now a joint venture together with Alfawall. The company name is Alfawall Oceanbird, or the Oceanbird. So that is going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. It's still waiting for a merger clearance process, but it's all set. And it's as soon as the merger clearance process is done, we're just going to hit the button and start it up, with the purpose of bringing wind power solutions to the shipping industry. So that's going to be the purpose of the company. So we are widening. We are not going to give this solution only to our own vessels or in that group, but also provide these solutions to the wider market. That kind of ends my slideshow and my presentation, but just want to end by saying that we really want to contribute to truly sustainable shipping by providing wind power solution to the entire shipping industry. We're not happy with only providing it to our vessels, because that's not going to be enough. We need to do something bigger in the industry. And I also want to say that we have been sailing for thousands of years, and the introduction of diesel engines meant faster crossing, but at the expense of the environment. Now we know better. We cannot continue with the pollutions that shipping is contributing to. So we need to do something about it. And with a solution like Oceanbird that will leave 90% less emissions, that is truly taking a large step towards the transition in shipping. And this really shows that we can bring about major changes, and it is possible. We can do this. We can reach zero emission shipping in not a very far distant future. So, okay, that's the stop of my presentation. I welcome you back, Kevin.
Thank you.
And as I started this presentation, I appreciate feedback from those who are listening and viewing this video. And please visit our website as well to see the progress of follow the progress of this project.
And I think a lot of the people that are viewing this, will be eagerly following the developments in the project. And I'm completely sold. So we'll talk later about me buying 3 or 4 of these.
You're welcome.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
That would be fantastic. But
I think it's really important. I just picked up on a number of things that you were talking about there, and you mentioned this is it's a ro-ro design, but you're looking at other segments of the industry. Which other segments do you think are the sort of lowest hanging fruit for this kind of design?
Of course, the lowest hanging fruit would be the ones who have no obstacles on the top deck. I mean, this is or doesn't have any cargo equipment that interferes with that the wings could interfere with. But I also want to see. I mean, this is going to be the lowest hanging fruit. But I also want to see. I want to view it from the other side. I mean, we need to take this step. We need to bring about change. So how can we develop the cargo handling systems to fit a vessel that's actually powered by wind? If you have these wings or any other wind solution, how can we change the cargo system? Can we do anything with a container vessel, for example, to be able to work even with a wing solution like this? So I think we need to look at it from both sides, and of course in the beginning we probably want to adjust a wing solution to the cargo equipment, but in the future we need to look at it from the other side.
No, I completely agree, and I think that transition, having the toolbox in place, having the designs in place that enable that transition in port operations and in other logistics aspects. I really liked a phrase that I think the CEO of Wallenius Wilhelmsen used, where you're in a business that sort of hurries up to wait, that you deliver your cars to a port, and then they sit there for weeks waiting for regulations to be, all of the paperwork to be done.
Exactly.
To be done. Yeah.
I think the response we have got from a lot of cargo owners, we haven't reached out to a lot of cargo owners, but we have been approached by a lot of cargo owners when we presented this. And one of our fears was that the slightly lower speed would be one of the challenges here. But the response we have received from cargo owners is that not really. It's not the speed, it's the reliability, the schedule reliability. That is the challenge. So if you can promise us that you will be there in 12 days, that's okay. Even though we normally take maybe 8 or 9 days, that's not a big problem. The slightly slower speed is acceptable as long as we can keep the schedule integrity.
Yeah, and I think I've been discussing quite a bit of the sort of charter agreement aspects of that, and there is going to need to be some adjustment. But as you say, I think that expression of reliability is, if it's a reliable, if you can guarantee those delivery times, then some of those issues fall away. Not for all segments and not for all shippers. Exactly. But for
the majority, I would say.
Yeah, no, indeed, and that actually brought me to a question that I was going to ask you. Actually, your project's generated a lot of publicity. But what has been the reaction from, for example, from the ship owners themselves, the cargo owners, which you've already touched on to a point, or the charterers, and also have you had any reactions from seafarers? They're always got a lot of opinions and a lot of ideas around it. I'm just wondering what kind of feedback you've had on the design.
We got a lot of publicity, and it's been a fantastic response. Of course, maybe I'm only reached by the more positive response, and maybe the more critical doesn't really come to me. I don't know, but in general, it's been fantastic. Ship owners, of course, we haven't been approached by a lot of ship owners, but some ship owners, and they kind of, wow, this is super interesting. How can we make this fit to our vessels? Would this make sense also on a short sea solution or short sea trade, or is it only for ocean going vessels? What about smaller vessels? Can we fit only one wing? Would that make sense? How much can we gain from that solution? So we are, of course, looking into that as well. We are not only, the origin of this project started with kind of bringing down 90% of the emissions, taking that off. But of course, we know that there will be also a need to have wind assistance solution instead of a wind propulsion solution, where you maybe can fit it on existing vessels and so on. And there has been some requests and some questions about that. So that's been very positive. As I mentioned, cargo owners has been reaching out and just, wow, this is fantastic. We want to have our cargo on this vessel. And then, of course, there's a lot of that's going to follow a lot of discussions on but what about time and what about reliability and what about cost? So but those discussions haven't really started yet. But a generally very, very positive approach from cargo owners. And I think that's one of the major changes I've seen in the industry since I've been working with environmental and sustainability issues for about 15 years. And in the beginning, it was quite difficult. A lot of other stakeholders kind of, that's not important, just cost. Cost is important. Sustainability, yeah, very good. Good that you're doing it, but no, not so important. But what I've seen is that the last 3 or 4 years, and that was also one of the reasons why we thought this is the right time to do this project, was that there has been increased demand from the society and from cargo owners to find more sustainable solutions.
I've certainly,
so that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and I've certainly seen that, across the board. That it's the sustainability isn't a bolt-on. It's actually coming at the core of people's businesses.
Absolutely, not for everybody yet, but it's gonna be it's gonna come.
No,
so, but you had one very interesting stakeholder list that I haven't spoken about yet, and that's the seafarers. So the first time we released a picture of this solution, I think it was in maybe December 2019. That was the first picture we released publicly before we just worked internally. Or maybe no, it was in December 2018. Then I got a message from one of my friends that has been on board. He's been sailing on board before. He went to shore working with planning and so on. He has said, well, when this vessel is out, I'm going to go to sea again. I'm going to get out sailing again. This is just beautiful. We need to go this way. And there has been a lot of positive response. We have already people lining up to get on board on this vessel. So this is, I think the more we learn about sustainability and the challenges the world actually are in today, the more people get kind of, engaged and want to contribute. So it's a very positive driving force right now.
No, and I think that reaction from somebody who's been on land for a few years, saying they're excited to go back to sea, and it touches also on the fact I really liked in your presentation was around having those master's students working on the model, bringing them in at a very formative stage of their education. These are the guys that are. I'm not going to insinuate that we're older than we are, but these are the guys that will probably realize the dream that we all have now in the next decade to 2 decades. These guys are the ones that are going to be delivering it. And it's just great to see them getting involved on a really, really cool project like that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, the nowadays it's not only when you're getting a job, it's not just to get money, but you want to serve a greater purpose. So I think this is really one of the greater purposes that's going to attract a lot of people.
No, I think so too. And I just want to expand it a little bit and just get your impressions around what's happening in the wider shipping industry at the moment in the decarbonisation discussion. I mean, we've got the EEXI coming into force. We've got obviously, EEDI is also being adjusted with wind propulsion submissions. We've got CII, which is probably the more fundamental change. And then we've got MBMs being discussed as well, carbon levies, R&D funds, all of these aspects. And I'm just wondering, how do you see these will affect the industry, and in particular, the uptake of wind propulsion in connection with those?
Of course, I am very strongly for, I'm supportive of strong regulations. And these kind of regulations will push in this direction. It will help to push in these directions. But I really think that IMO took they took a bad decision in 2011 or so, when they someone around there, the EEDI was formed.
Right.
That was kind of a discussion at that time. And I think that was a really bad decision, because it's not a very good instrument. My personal opinion, if you want to combat CO2 emissions and climate change, then that is what should be regulated. The EEDI is not regulating CO2 emission; it's regulating energy efficiency or energy consumption, energy efficiency, and that is one of the solutions to combating climate change, to reduce the energy consumption. But there are other solutions as well. I mean, a vessel like Oceanbird is still going to consume energy, but it's picking up energy, free energy, that is not contributing to CO2 emissions. So now when we have this framework, the EEDI and the EEXI, you need to come up with all sorts of correction factors and things adding on to the regulations, just to be able to cater for those more sustainable solutions. So in that respect, the MBAs, the MBMs and a trading scheme or so is much more to the core, because that's going to combat CO2 emissions. That's where you're going to put the cost, and I think that will be a much better driver for finding more sustainable solutions.
And then the market will actually decide which solutions make sense.
Yeah,
to match that framework, right?
Exactly.
I understand. So, and with the CII aspect, this operational ranking system, do you think that this will be impacting on the industry with the uptake of wind as well? Or do you put that in the same box with EEDI, EEXI?
I put it really in the same box. They are connected in a way. Of course, there's going to be a gradually increased demand through the CII. But it's there's so many complexities with those kind of regulations where you're not focusing on the right thing. You're not putting the efforts on the core problem. And that also creates, now the EEDI, the CII, everything, like it's divided into different shipping segments.
Yeah.
So some shipping segments might have easier to reach to really comply than others, and there is no really strict definition, or the cargo doesn't really have to go on a specific ship type. So there is a competition between ship types. So these kind of regulations kind of distort competition. So I'm not very fond of the solution, but I think it will help to push to a certain extent the introduction of wind power, for example, or other sustainable solutions.
I think that what you said certainly makes sense, and the fact that your project is going way beyond any kind of compliance driver into a whole different realm of primary wind, then it's an area that actually the industry can get down to business, which is moving cargo around as efficiently as it can. Yeah. Now I'm going to on that point, I'm going to move away from the discussion now. I'm going to give you a quick fire This is a 5-minute quick fire Q&A session.
Okay.
I'm just going to drill these questions. Okay. You can do a yes or no answer, but I'd prefer if you give us a 1-sentence answer for each of these. Okay. So are you ready? Here we go. Here we go. So if you had to pick the most significant remaining barrier to wind propulsion uptake, what would it be and why?
To get the first vessel out in the water, to prove the concept, to really get people to understand that this works. Very clear, very clear. How did you personally, 1, get into shipping, and 2, get into wind propulsion? Got into shipping by coincidence. I'm an engineer. I kind of like engineering stuff, and shipping popped up on my agenda, and I thought this is going to be interesting. So that's how I came into shipping. Into wind power, I was born into wind power. I've been sailing my entire life, windsurfing, kite surfing. So that's one of my great hobbies, and that's, you know, I just love the wind. So wind's in your blood. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I must say, actually, just on the point of being an engineer and excited about shipping, what a fantastic time for young engineers to be coming into shipping. It's amazing. It's amazing. There is so much happening now, coming in now in this transition period which we are in. It's just such an opportunity. Absolutely, no, absolutely. Okay, what is the most difficult issue you and your team have had to deal with up to today with the development of this project? Well, of course, there are a lot of difficult technical issues, but I would still say it's stakeholder issues. It's as when we are in a small company doing our stuff ourselves. It's so simple. But of course, as soon as you start engaging in a business constellation and getting into commercial discussions, it's much more difficult. You have to go back to point zero and explain the whole thing again. Yeah, more or less. No, not really that bad. But it's been these are tricky questions. And coming back to the first fire question about what's the remaining the most significant barrier, it's again proving the concept. Right, absolutely. Okay, I've got a couple more. What is the most frequently asked question that you get, and what's your response? Won't this vessel capsize? Okay. And the response is no. I'm glad that's the response. We with the current design, we estimate a healing angle of maybe 5 degrees or so, between 2 and 5 degrees at the most. Does that help? Is there a ballast relocation of ballast to deal with that? 5 degrees without ballast solutions, or any compensation, and 2 degrees with. Okay. And what is the most common misconception? So what's the most common sort of mistake, if you like, that people make when they're looking at your design? So the capsizing thing is the question. What's the mistake that they usually make, or the most common mistake that's made? I think we don't have too many mistakes, actually. There are no. I think we've been quite successful in delivering the message and on the purpose, and so I don't think we have so many misconceptions. Maybe it's around this vessel won't. That it won't be reliable. You will depend on the wind, and so it's going to take. You don't know when it's going to get there. Yeah, we know when it's going to get there, because it's not only reliable, relying on the wind, because it's going to have auxiliary engines to be able to meet the schedules. Sure, and it has a minimum power requirement that it will need to have in the design. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 2 more questions very quickly. Have you done a life cycle analysis or environmental impact on the build of the vessel? Not fully yet. It's on the agenda, so it's absolutely on the top of our minds, but we haven't done it yet. So it's going to be there. We have been focusing now so far on really making the wind power solution as efficient and reliable and robust as possible, because we know that this is going to be a significant improvement in the environmental impact. Then, of course, we need to look at the rest of the life cycle analysis as well. So it's on agenda, but it hasn't been done yet.
Okay. So I'll ask you that. I'll ask you that again next year.
Absolutely.
When we got you back here. And final one, are you currently recruiting?
We are. With the new company that we are forming, we are going to recruit quite a lot of people right now. So absolutely, we are recruiting. We need more people to help us to get this transformation going.
So are we talking designers? Are we talking naval architects? Are we talking
we have at the moment we have a few positions out, so it's six or so positions out, mostly technical, but we have project management, we have also some commercials and so on. So there is a wide spread of positions open at the moment where we're recruiting, and it's going to be more as this company gets going. It's going to be more. Definitely.
Watch this space.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, Per, I really appreciate you taking your time from obviously an extremely busy schedule that you have, and I'm just going to give you really the last say. I'll do the wrap up, but I'm going to give you 1 minute to just give the audience a kind of takeaway. What do you want to say to them as the last piece that they remember from this project? So you got 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, thank you. It's going to be difficult. Okay, so shipping is needed. We know that shipping contributes to globalization, and globalization is good. We need that to continue. We know that shipping is an increasing industry. We are expecting significant increase of shipping, but shipping is also a large contributor of harmful emissions, and we cannot continue. We need to ensure that we, as responsible people, leave this earth and this planet in a better shape to next generations than we have gotten it. So that is really, really important. So wind as a solution for shipping is obvious. There's so much, but there's so much energy around the vessel. So why not make use of it? No, we just need to carry on. We need to act. We cannot just sit and wait and talk and discuss. We need to act to get this going. So everyone who helps and everyone that pushed the shipping industry in the sustainable solution is they are heroes in my way, in my books.
In my humble opinion, I completely concur. And you know, this decade of wind propulsion, that's the sign behind me, is not just a slogan; it's a reality.
It's a reality.
And I'm really excited to see the developments in your project and how that delivers on this decade of wind propulsion in the next couple of years. So without further ado, Per, thank you very much for joining us. That's Per Tunell, COO of Wallenius Marine and the future CEO of the new company Alfawall Oceanbird. And we'll be watching very, very closely. If any of you have questions for Per or for myself, please don't hesitate to send those to me and I'll pass them on to Per, or contact Per directly. I'm sure he'll be able to answer any of those technical questions and other interesting requests. So I'd like to say thanks again, Per, and
thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent, and farewell to all of you. Fair winds, and everybody stay safe and well. And I'll see you at the next Listening to the Wind interview. Thank you.
Thank you.